Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that.
All right, guys. So as I'm sure you heard today, Matt Gaetz withdrew his name from contention for the Attorney General's position. And it is what it is at this point, okay? On many levels, it's so frustrating because it does go to show you, how do you, as Donald Trump, win the election by a landslide, by a mandate, get 53 seats in the Republican Senate, and you can't get enough Republican senators to go along with your political mandate? Just so many rhinos in the party, it's ridiculous. At the same time, though, the argument could be made the entire thing was strategic, right? Trump and Gaetz knew the whole time that they never had a chance, but by making an attorney general pick that was so outrageous, perhaps, and this is a theory I've been hearing a lot, it was meant to serve essentially as a distraction, right? So that way, all of the attention, as it has been, was on Matt Gaetz. So when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard or RFK Jr. or Pete Hegseth or any of the other more controversial cabinet picks, notice how there's no attention on them, right? Everyone was putting their energy behind Matt Gaetz, which would allow the other more serious cabinet picks to actually receive nominations. That is totally possible. So ultimately, we'll have to find out. You could also argue maybe Trump did this so that Gaetz could run for the Senate seat or the governor's position in 2026. It doesn't matter at this point. But now, with that said, let's just turn the page, okay? Because Matt Gaetz is not going to be the attorney general. We'll see what happens next. It was announced today, though, that Trump is naming a new nominee for attorney general. So let's read the statement. And apparently it's going to be former Florida AG Pam Bondi. So check it out. I am proud to announce former AG of the great state of Florida, Pam Bondi, as our next attorney general of the U.S. Pam was a prosecutor for nearly 20 years, where she was very tough on violent criminals and made the streets safe for Florida families. Then, as Florida's first female attorney general, she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs and reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdose deaths, which have destroyed many families across our country. She did an incredible job that I asked her to serve on our Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission during my first term. We saved many lives. For too long, check this out, the partisan DOJ has been weaponized against me and many other Republicans. Not anymore. Pam will focus on the DOJ's intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. I have known Pam for many years, smart and tough, an America First fighter who will do a terrific job as Attorney General. Now, overall, okay, all things considered, I definitely think this is a pretty solid pick. Okay, Pam, first of all, is still from Florida because Trump seems to have this agenda where he wants to make half of the White House be Floridian. I'm fine with that, right? But also, Pam has always been a warrior when it comes to crime and immigration. Take a listen.
These criminals made one very big mistake. They wound up in Polk County. And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you. The DEA is going to help them, and my statewide prosecutors are going to lock you up for as long as we can.
And we're going to enjoy it.
And each of these defendants are looking at 30 years in Florida State Prison for conspiracy to traffic drugs.
I mean, look, if it's true that Pam Bondi was going to be the pick all along and Gaetz was just sort of the strategic distraction, this is amazing, right? Because not only does she have actual experience at being an attorney general on a statewide position, right, as qualified essentially as it gets, but as you can tell from that clip, she's very serious about being tough on crime, but especially about being tough on illegal immigration. And that is so important because a lot of the immigration work that needs to be done is going to be conducted, right, through the Department of Justice. And if we want to be serious about mass deportations, about going after and breaking up the criminal cartels that are pouring across and selling drugs to our border, etc., obviously very important that you have a true immigration hawk in that position that's willing to go after it big time and very harshly, and you love to see that. And if you know anything about the culture of Florida law enforcement, okay, they do not mess around when it comes to being tough on crime here. You know, the old school Southern accent, do not do that in Polk County. That's exactly what we need. But guys, if you're skeptical at all that the replacement pick for Matt Gaetz is not necessarily good, well, take a listen to the way MSNBC reacted to Pam Bondi being selected. And this right here, more than anything else, will tell you what you need to know.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that with a little more depth with both of you, including her record on civil rights, LGBTQ rights, and other issues that are front and center at the DOJ, and which we know were also big campaign issues this cycle.
So according to MSNBC, right, the Pam Bondi pick is the worst. It's even worse than Matt Gaetz, which means better, because she is effective and competent and also dangerous, right? So this actually, like I said, maybe it's possible, again, that the Gaetz thing was always supposed to be a distraction for the other cabinet picks, because this seems to be much more in line with a lot of the type of picks Trump was making so far, which is it seems like he wants people that are loyal, that are conservative, but that are also competent and experienced and sort of know what they're doing in this regard. And that could have been a concern of Gaetz, right? He does have a law degree, but he's never served in a position like Attorney General. Well, you plug in Pam Bondi, who obviously comes from Florida, and we know how things are here, right? Everything is running very effectively, and like we know what we're doing with legislation cracking down on left-wing nonsense and whatnot, and immigration and migration and everything, as the MSNBC guest here points out. Then if Pam Bondi goes right to the federal government and just starts work on this right away, you know, she's not going to have very many issues being confirmed by the GOP Senate. Because if they don't like Matt Gaetz because he's too controversial, well, Pam has a pretty clean record, and it's hard to call her unqualified considering she literally was an attorney general for a state position. I mean, again, that's as qualified as it gets, number one. And then number two, it seems to me on her record, again, the most important thing for the DOJ, for Trump, is they have to be very tough and very knowledgeable in terms of combating the illegal immigration problem. Clearly, Pam Bondi is all about that, right? She's been very effective on that. And by the way, when it comes to Florida's like anti-woke laws and all that stuff, she was instrumental in making sure those are enforced as well. So, you know, considering how effective Florida has been governed for the past several years now, you're going to take a former attorney general from that state. I think it is brilliant. I think it's exactly what we need. And again, if we couldn't get Matt Gaetz, then this is a good sign. And like I said, I think there's indication this was always the plan all along. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Do you like the pick of Pam Bondi? Do you want to learn more? Are you disappointed in the Senate GOP for going against Gaetz? I still am. Not because, again, even if it's true Gaetz was never supposed to be the pick, you should just be going along with Trump's mandate, considering it's your party, right? It'd be one thing if the Democrat won and they are trying to put AOC for Attorney General up there or something, which, by the way, I think a lot of the rhinos would still vote for that because they would say, oh, well, Kamala Harris won the presidency, right? It's like the leader of your party just received a mandate and here you are trying to stop that. It's like, what party are you supposed to be a part of? I don't know. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.